Clint had said that it was maybe mostly his decision not to go into national team camp this year in January. Did you guys have any conversation with that in terms of his decision not to go there?
He had a conversation with Jurgen, so that's really, between him and Jurgen. I mean, me and Jurgen have talked about different things. He told me that he was going to give Clint the option. So.
And given that he has maybe tired a little bit down the stretch and sort of said that in the last couple of years, how much of a bonus is it for you guys and for you personally to have him in from the very beginning here, or you can sort of start him fresh?
Well, it's good for him to get in a preseason with us because he's never really had a real strong preseason with us based upon just the timing and the national team camps and everything else. So I think for himself and his body with, the injuries that he had a little bit last year, to make sure that he's solid from that, it just made sense to keep him under the same sort of rhythm and routine that he started off with here.
And how much of a benefit is that to have a guy from the beginning, especially like you said, this is his first preseason? What does that really mean in terms of what that?
Well, it helps having Clint. It helps having Freeberg here from the beginning, Valdez from the beginning, Ivanchitz from the beginning. So it helps with all those guys. Yeah.
Are any of the players going to be parting company before y'all head down to Arizona?
A couple of guys we won't take, but we're going to take a pretty large group to Arizona because we want to split things up game-wise a little bit.
And what's sort of on the to-do list in this phase of training that's coming up now?
Well, in the Arizona phase is obviously continue our fitness, but it's also now to work really on our tactics. I wanted them to play and work hard here and get some fitness stuff done in. We conceptually talked about a few ideas, but it's really to work on our tactics and how we want to play, along with still working hard and maintaining and getting increased fitness.
In this first little phase, are any of the guys who were primarily S2 last year making a good first impression?
Some guys are having good days and bad days. You can't evaluate just on one day to the other because it sort of varies. But certainly there's guys who are, showing that they're hungry and that they want to step up and that they want to make a mark onto the next level.
New faces come, new faces go every year. You've dealt with that for many, many years. How long in your experience, how long typically does it take a team to mesh early in the season, preseason?
I think as a group, depends how much you're changing, but within that starting group, it usually takes, 2 to 4 games for them to really start to establish a rhythm with each other, and hopefully we can get some of that in practice by maybe playing that group together a little bit.
Is it good to have kind of a quote-unquote preseason as long as it is with the Champions League games and all that?
Our preseason is too short with the Champions League games because we start at the same time as the other MLS teams start, but they don't have to play a game until 10 days later. So it makes it a little more difficult, and I think it puts the players into a little more jeopardy of injury because they're not entirely fit. So it also affects maybe your tactics going into those games because you're not going to really be able to play a 90-minute game. You might have to cut that game somehow to 75 minutes of effort. So I think it puts a strain on everything, but those are the rules and regulations we have to live by.
Is there anything in particular you think needs to happen to keep Ozzy healthy and contributing for the duration of the entire season?
I think just making sure that we rest him in some games, that we spot him at the right times. I think his commitment so far has been very good in terms of doing the work that he needs to do off the field, because there's some off the field work that he needs to do to help maintain himself and be injury free. But we also are responsible for pulling the right times to maybe give him a break as we move forward in the season.
You've probably been asked this question all week, but impressions of Jordan Morris early on?
Well, he hasn't been here, so I can't tell you,
Okay.
So he hasn't trained. He hasn't trained with us yet, so we'll wait till he gets here, and then we'll talk about him.